just peel it back and it'll reveal your image. Here's the trick right here. So you're gonna get your image. Here we go, you ready? Oh yeah. Well, hello friends. Welcome back to yet another pottery video. In today's video, I want to share something with you that I have not seen anybody else do on the internet or in person. I'm pretty sure I'm the only one that does this, and I think it can help you out a ton, especially if you like to draw. Now, I love to draw my pots. I've been doing this for like 10 years straight, just drawing on pots, and I just have so much fun doing it. But there's always this problem when you go from drawing something on a flat surface, like if you're sketching, to drawing on a pot that has a complex form. In other words, it curves this way and it curves this way. If you're trying to draw something, it goes around the pot. Like this whale right here goes all the way around the pot. How are you going to see the whale and get the proportions right if you can't see the whole thing, right? So this whale and the calf, this is a North Atlantic right whale. This drawing goes all the way around the mug. Now, if you're drawing something on a flat surface or just something where you can see the whole thing, like a bowl, it's much easier to get the proportions for everything and to get it looking the way you want to get it to look, right? You can see the whole whale here, and you can, go back and erase things and get them perfect how you want. Now, I think you can see the challenge here. You can see this part of the whale, but you can't see the tail and the calf on the other side, on the back of it, right? So this technique is going to allow you to take your drawing from a flat surface and put it on a round pot. The trick involves using a printer, just a regular inkjet printer. It may very well work on laser printers. I've never tried it. And I like to use newsprint paper because it's very flexible. But I have tried it. If you don't have any newsprint paper, you can use it on plain white paper and it works too. Now, just because we're using a printer does not mean that you have to do this where you're drawing it on an iPad or something like that. You can take your regular drawing from a piece of paper, and I've even used my drawings on other pots, right? I've taken a pot that I was like, oh, this drawing turned out awesome on this, and I've captured that with my phone, and then I print it out on the printer to transfer it onto another pot. Now, I personally draw everything on an iPad. I love the iPad. I have a whole library of different animals and different drawings I do. And I just can, every time I want to make something, I can pull it up. This will totally work even if it's just a sketch that you take a picture of. And then I put it in a Word document, and the Word document allows you to stretch it. It allows you to flip it horizontally or vertically, right? So if you want two fish and you want them each facing each other, you can flip one and have them both facing each other, like I have done on this drawing. So these are the flowers that you see in the thumbnail. So I flipped these, and then I also stretched them and shaped them and moved them around, and I played with it until I could get it to fit. And I've got this all worked out where the stem fits right around the handle and this bulge fits on the belly of the mug, and it just fits perfectly. So this allows you to take that, manipulate that drawing until it works out for you. Now, in an ideal world, I think we'd all like to draw each drawing individually on our pots. However, I've found that a hybrid approach works the best for me. What I do is I draw my drawings fairly simple, and like this alligator, for example, has no tail. So this allows me to use this transfer technique to get the basic proportions correct, and then I can make each one individual by changing the tail, changing the amount of spikes on the back, and changing the facial expressions and so on. So I found a hybrid approach works the best. This saves me a lot of time and allows me to make each one different. The other thing I do is to manipulate my drawings on my iPad a lot. I'll make a drawing, make a couple pots from it, and then I go back and change the drawing and I save it. And each time I save it, I build up that library. So now I have thousands of different images in my library that I can go back to and make hybrid images of them, mix them around, change them a little bit very quickly, and then go in the studio and make pots from that. That allows me to keep my prices down on my pots so I can make these accessible to everybody. I want as many people to own my pots as possible. And if I had to draw one each individually, and every time I made a mistake, it would cost me an hour, well, you can see the problem. So this allows me to reach as many people as I can and keep my pots fresh and not repeat the designs a whole bunch and keep a different personality in each drawing. If you don't like to draw digitally, Adobe Capture is an amazing app that allows you to transform your sketches into quick, ready to print vector images. Once I make the vector image on Adobe Capture, I then put it in a Word document and print it, and then we're going to cut it out and we'll be ready to put it on our pot. So here's the trick right here. This is some fresh clay right out of the bag, and I wanted to show you it on fresh clay right out of the bag, even though I do it on bone dry ware, just to show you that it will work on any dryness of clay. It works on wet, leather hard, bone dry, and it even works on bisque. So you're going to get your image, and I have reversed this. Flounder don't look like this. They're actually opposite of this, so I've reversed it. If you have text, you want to do the same thing. And then you're going to put it image side down. Now, the wetter your clay is, the less water you need. And all you're going to do is get a damp sponge. So this will probably need barely any water at all to transfer it. And just give it a little pat down like you would with a temporary tattoo, if you remember those from when you were a little kid. And you just pat it down all the way around, and that ink will transfer on there. All right, we'll peel it back, and hopefully we have a really awesome flounder on there. Here we go. You ready? Oh yeah. Look at that flatty. So you can see it transfers the ink right on there. Now this ink is going to burn away. So again, this is just showing you how to transfer your drawing on there. You're still going to need to do some sort of decoration technique on there. So you could do anything, Cuerda Seca, Sgraffito, Mishima. You can paint it on there with underglazes. Like I said, sometimes I do it on bisque-ware, which allows you to use, even just regular opaque glazes or something to do your decorating with it. So it's a really awesome technique. And I'm going to show you now how I do it on bisque-ware and how I do the Mishima technique. But that doesn't mean you have to do Mishima with this. This is just what I do. Woo, flatty. When you're cutting yours out, when you get to places like this, it depends on what you're doing, how closely you need to cut this out. If it's going on something flat, it really doesn't matter, right? Because the paper doesn't need to flex that much. However, if you have a very curvy mug and it needs to curve this way and that way, sometimes cutting in here, just cut a little relief cut, can help it bend around the corner. So just for fun here, we're going to cut some relief cuts in here, and that'll allow it to flex around our pot. I just wanted to touch on something I forgot to cover earlier, and that is like my organizational system. So when I'm printing these out, a lot of times I'll print out large multiples of them because I'll be making like 20 bowls or 20 mugs or something like that. And so you always have a couple extra or whatever. And I make these little folders. I just fold a piece of paper in half, and it says on it, you can see that this one says small sperm whales. Sometimes I'll be really specific, like it'll say 3.5-inch turtles or whatever. Like, yeah, this one is 2.5-inch sea turtle. So I know the next time I need a sea turtle that's real small to fit on a bowl, I'll have a whole packet of them, and then I keep them in here. Now, I also want to give you a little teaser. Now, I have another folder of drawings just like this, but they're larger, and they're too big to do on your inkjet printer. I have another trick to do the same technique on larger ones. So that'll be the next video. So you're definitely going to want to subscribe to that. Or if you don't have an inkjet printer, there's a trick to doing this with another device that you probably have in your house that you can do the same thing and make them bigger. So that'll be a next video. Subscribe for that. I put all these extra flowers here. I call these stickers. So this gives me the option to put more flowers wherever I want in the pot. Sometimes I'll use one, sometimes I'll use none, sometimes I'll use 4 of them on a pot. But I have those there. Since you're going to be printing out a sheet anyway, you might as well fill it up. So my pot, you can see it's not really flexing that well right here, right now. But when that paper gets wet, it's going to flex on there and put that line on there just fine. So I don't need to worry about it. But what I'm going to do now is just try to get the best look for this. Do I want it over here? Do I want it over there? I think right there should be good. And to transfer this, it's as simple as like one of those temporary tattoos when you're a little kid. All I'm going to do here is I'm going to get a sponge, has some water on it, and I'm going to squeeze the water out. And you just apply this like a temporary tattoo. So I'm going to start here, and I'm just going to get wet. And here's the trick that I found. If you hold it there for a second or two on your first part, then it'll stick to your pot and you won't have to worry about this flying up. But all it's doing right now is transferring that ink on there. I just hold it on there for a second. You don't want to use too much water because it'll dissolve your pot, and but you don't want to use so little that it doesn't transfer the ink. So you'll find the right amount. You might have to practice a couple times. And again, this is where a wrinkle was happening. So I'm just gonna push that in, hold it for a second, it'll unwrinkle that. All right, and now we can just peel this back and we'll have our image on here. It's as simple as that. So, and if you want, you can check. So if I peel this back a little bit, I can see I missed a little spot right there. Now I can see where that is. I don't need that there, but you can just go push it back on there and make sure everything transferred. But you really don't need to. And then we're just gonna peel it back. So we'll just peel it back and it'll reveal your image. How cool is that? Now it looks all streaky and hard to see. So what I do is I just give it one little wipe and that'll wipe off the extra ink. This video isn't like how to finish this. This is just how to get your design on here. Now from here, I'm gonna go and put some orange underglaze here and then do the Mishima process. But this will work on anything. This will work on your Sgraffito. You could go hit this with a paintbrush. You could use like a glaze trailer. Literally any decorating technique is gonna work. And you can imagine how long that would take to draw and how little time it took to just transfer that. Now for my oranges, I'm just gonna use this flame orange underglaze from Amico to paint in the oranges. And then the rest I'm gonna do with glaze. You can see that I went a little bit over my line with the orange underglaze. No big deal. You can just take a knife or a Sgraffito tool and just scrape it right off. And it's gonna look like $1,000,000. Next, we're gonna coat this with wax. And then we'll do the Mishima technique where we carve through the wax. This is the wax I use. It's from Laguna, sold by Artistic Industries. It's awesome. And there's basically two kinds of wax that I've learned about. So this is what I call like the old school wax. And it works incredible for Mishima. Now the new waxes, kind of all modeled after, I think Wacky Wax was the first one that I saw, are a little bit different. They don't work as good for Mishima. They're excellent for wax resist, but they get a little hard candy shell on them. And these old school waxes stay soft, and so they're really easy to carve through. So I like one of these better. Also, this dries instantly, where the Wacky Wax and the Amico take a little bit longer to dry. So I like these old school waxes better if you can find one. The new ones will work, but not as well. And I've thinned this out quite a bit, so it's very runny. And I'm just gonna paint this over the entire pot real quick. Okay, so this wax is thinned out quite a bit, and you can see I can paint right over this and still see through it. Whenever you have underglaze on like this, you don't want to scrub back and forth. If you scrub back and forth, you can smudge the underglaze. Doesn't look all that great. So I'm going to just be careful just to go over it once. Just going over it one time won't smudge it, but if you go back and forth, it might smudge it a little bit. And if you can't see through your wax, you need to put more water in it. It doesn't need to be thick at all. It can, in fact, it works better if it's thinner. So don't be afraid to thin it down quite a bit. All right, so you can see the whole thing is covered with wax, but there's these little puddles on it. And the puddles are not good because it'll dry thicker there and it can cause the wax to come off on your finger. So what I do is I just blot it with the paper towel and that'll get it all to the same thickness so it'll dry right away. And we don't want it to dry too much. We just want it dry enough so it doesn't get all over our hands. But if it dries too much, it'll get all like hard like a candy shell. So this is plenty dry right here. So I just blot it and I keep a paper towel. And if I'm doing like 100 pots, this one little paper towel will do like 100 pots. I just blot it to get the... This is a WS tool from Kemper. It is my tool of choice. I have not found any tool except for ones that I can make that can get the same line quality as this one. If you know something else, leave it in the comments. I have not tried the diamond core ones yet. They're just a little bit out of my price range. And when I carve this, I steer it. So if I'm going around a corner, I'm gonna actually turn it going around the corner. It works best if you hold it so it's cutting that V. If you cut this way, where the tool is sideways, hopefully you can see that on the camera, it will dig and kind of leave a rough surface. This V way cuts very clean. This is the step where the pot comes alive. I have my Lug 1 underglaze. This is the best stuff ever. It is the most beautiful, cool black color ever. I just love it. And I have carved out all my lines. I tried to carve as lightly as possible just through the wax and not too much into the pot. And now I'm just gonna apply this, and wherever there, and I didn't let it dry at all. This is not dried at all. I literally just got done carving it. And so I just paint it on there, and it'll go right into the crack where I carved, and the wax will prevent it from going on there. The wax will prevent it from going any place I don't want it to be. Now I have my mud tools sponge. I absolutely love these. It's the white one. I've done a video on this already, but the white one is incredible for this technique. You don't want to use one of these yellow sponges. This is a grout sponge cut down, because the pores are so large, they'll end up digging the black out. But this has very fine pores, so it'll leave the black in the cracks and just wipe the black off the wax. And that'll reveal your image. You can see how it's just gone in the cracks and it stays there. Now all the wax is going to burn away in the bisque firing, and they'll be just left with the oranges with the black lines. Once this thing comes out of the bisque fire, we're going to apply the glaze. I like to use a combination of a glaze trailer and a paintbrush. And after that glaze goes on, put the wax on top of it to protect it. And then from there, it gets dipped in a deep blue transparent glaze that'll really show off the beauty of that porcelain. I was super happy with the way this turned out. I live for glaze drips and runny glazes, and this one was juicy. I love the way those little buds, the way the black underglaze streaked into the glaze just above them. Well, that'll do it for this one, everybody. I want to thank you so much for all of your likes, all of your comments, all of your enthusiasm, all of your positivity. It is truly what keeps me going and makes me want to make these videos every day. So thank you again. I will see you in the next one. And if you want to get this mug or the alligator mug that I made in this video, check out my Etsy store. The link will be in the description. You can get 10% off with code YouTube. It's automatic. You can just click the link. It'll give you the 10% off. And I'll see you in the next one. Have a great day.